Today we begin another one of the daily readings from the Dragon Within Saga, from the book Convergence, book 1 of it. It's on Amazon if you'd like to order it, or just sit back and listen to my voice, as difficult as that might be. Today we're actually going to start chapter 2. We just finished chapter 1, right before all the honoring of the Festival of the Moon began. So we're going to shift gears a little bit and jump right into chapter 2, entitled Inglacio. Translated means isolation. Suffering. That was his surrendered reality as he waited long upon his Lord, who provided him the power necessary to become the fulfillment of his master's directives. Now, while seated in the all-consuming darkness he so vehemently sought, overlooking his triumphant future, he was finally and fully aware of just how far he had traveled, and just how much his dark savior had meant to him. His journey had been wrought with pain and loss and lack. Oftentimes, when engaged in the dark meditation as he was now, while focusing on the source of his power, thoughts of his childhood would attempt to gain entrance and subsequently occupy part of his consciousness. With every morning devotional prior to the day's events, he pushed these thoughts aside to give himself over fully to the dark link. However, today was different. It was different because of its significance. Because of his reflected awareness and combined comprehension of the totality of what has occurred and what is about to occur, he allowed himself an indulgence into the memories of his pain-filled journey for the dual purposes of revelry and motivation. Using his powers of recollection, he traveled back in time to his very first tangible awareness: pain. A diffuse yet solid expression of it manifested in 3 different but equally dominating forms. While unlinked to a specific memory, they presented themselves as his first and therefore most concrete understanding of the world he was in and the life he was meant to live. A life of hunger, loss, and deception. As he sat alone in his secret chambers with a single candle casting its faint illumination upon the wall in front of him, allowing the ancient power symbols to barely present themselves, he became aware of the first of his 3 interpretations of pain: hunger. But not in the sense of physical hunger related to the consumption of food, rather a need for sustenance reaching deeply into the source of all things. The way one always wants to see more of a beautiful painting after it's gone, or to feel more of a kiss after lips have parted, or the desire for another brief period of familiarity when all surroundings continue to change. He remembered hungering for a constant and unchanging reality from which to reference all things against. And just as physical hunger pains develop when a threshold of tolerance is surpassed, so too did this longing manifest when there was nothing to fill his desire. Sitting motionless, except for his rhythmic breathing produced from deep meditation, he felt the closest thing to gratitude he's ever experienced well up within him, drawing its purpose from the bond he shared with the darkness. As if being driven by 2 galloping horses, his chariot of gratefulness gained speed from all he was saved from, and the resulting opportunity to exact a vengeance to all the hypocrisies of life immersed within his dismal condition of mortality. While fully prepared to embrace this emotion, he knew there existed a greater purpose upon which he was meant to focus. So grudgingly, he let go of his indulgence to resume his meditation upon the fluid bond and flow of power stemming from the greatest of things: hate. He knew this hate formed its genesis and full solidification of each of his 3 expressions of pain. Therefore, he allowed it to momentarily fade and, yet again, indulge in the second portion of his feast: loss. But not the simple misplacement of a toy or trinket, when a firm yet unspecified knowledge of its location always allows a reassurance of a solid reunion. It was the loss of something intimately linked to his identity, representing that which we cannot recover, but remains vital to who we are. Such loss drilled deeply into his awareness of self-creation and propagated a palpable hold set inside his soul. Looking back upon the entirety of his youth and adolescence, he cited this as the single propelling factor to his previous lack of ambition. Again, a fleeting feeling of affection for his master sent a small probe toward his conscious focus. Not the affection for father or mother, but that which is given to a horrible and powerful master who is willing to take mercy and share his secrets for the sole endeavor of its own selfish desires. His was an affection that stemmed from his breaking moments, resulting from endless bouts of brutal beatings when his master would show a type of pseudo-compassion by giving him a slight reprieve from the onslaught prior to being broken. No, his was an affection derived from the same hand that gives food, only to withhold it when the slightest variation to obedience is demonstrated. An affection that is utterly based upon the undeserving having been granted clemency from the one and only master who can grant it, yet has no reason to do so. Desiring to indulge once again in his memories, he allowed his warped sense of gratitude to roll out of his mind, thereby allowing his third and final solidified interpretation of pain to fill his being to its entirety. Deception. This deception, just as hunger and loss, pierced beyond the superficial layers of mortal emotions and delved into something we are able to feel from the realm of immortality itself. This is the great deception of God. He who should have been there but was not. This is the great betrayal of God to humanity as he left him forsaken to revel in all the dirt, grime, muck, and misery that is his design. He created the world. He created his child. And yet, time and time again, when his creation had left him broken, beaten, tattered, and torn, when the summation of the great universe equaled an unbalanced expression of hopelessness, when there was nothing to do but live out the rest of his days waiting in a pool of rotten petulance, continually being drawn deeper into the pit of death, and when he was convicted, crucified, shamed, and humiliated for turning to that which gave him a momentary reprieve from the black smoke that had become his existence, his supposed creator was absent. How dare he judge what he has given no choice but to become? Feeling the hate rise within him as the first black and powerful clouds of a storm can be seen rolling in across a barren plain of grass and wheat, he remembered the first frightening experience he had with the growing, hate-filled storm inside. We're going to end right there. Stay tuned next time when we just begin to see these tangible memories forming. Thanks again for once again sponsoring me and tuning into the daily readings from the Dragon Within Saga. This is from Book 1 Convergence. You guys have a wonderful day, and always remember to release your dragon within. Thank you.